Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the At the Pylon podcast. Alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakis. Chandler, you are back in Arlington. How you doing?
Oh yeah, I am. I'm doing well. Very tired, but we're doing well. Semester's over. It's time to in.
I'm definitely glad the semester is over for me as well, Chandler. So hopefully some more restful days ahead for both of us, as well as more advanced At the Pylon episodes coming soon,
Oh
hopefully.
yeah.
But regardless, lots to discuss coming out of this Patriots Chiefs game. As many of you know, I was there. Pretty fun game, honestly. I thought this was going to be a terrible blowout to watch, but it was pretty entertaining. 27-17 loss for the Patriots, nonetheless. It was a good enough loss where, it was entertaining to watch, but we still lost. So at the end of the day, we're getting the job done at striving for that number one overall pick. But Chandler, I guess from your perspective, coming from a team like the Chiefs, who obviously came off two straight losses before entering this game against New England's, they had a lot to prove, and many people thought that this was going to be a statement game on their behalf. At least I thought that it was pretty much the opposite. Chiefs did not play too well in this game.
No, before I get into that, I'd like to talk about one quick little thing. The first overall pick. Um, as many of you know, our prayers were answered, and the Panthers did in fact beat the Falcons 9-7, which
Yep.
is a real football score. Seems like that's something more that we would do, but they did it as well. So, in retrospect, looking back, had we lost to the Steelers, we would be in possession of the number one overall pick right now.
And that's why I hate the game against the Steelers so much.
Yep.
That's why I was distraught.
Maybe the Panthers can figure it out with for the rest of the season to keep winning
Yeah,
and get us.
we'll look at their schedule after. Actually, that'll be a fun thing to do.
Yeah,
Go over the last couple games, but
yeah. But
hearing back to yeah,
as for the actual Patriots game, um, the Chiefs they kind of looked fraudulent. I can't lie. We did not look good. Apart from the first quarter, the first quarter we did look all right. Even though we didn't put up any points in the first quarter. Zappi was very efficient. I believe he started the game, 9 for 10,
hmm
something like that, 70 odd yards, and a missed field goal from Chad Ryland because, of course, there's a missed field goal from Chad Ryland. Wouldn't be a
yeah.
Patriots game without one. Um,
Add that to our list.
yeah, literally, that's what I texted you. I was like, just another one.
And
Um,
I actually got the perfect view. It was right on my side of the field.
oh, lovely.
So I was like, oh, this one's not going in. Whoop, right up and a miss. So
Yeah,
good job,
but
Chad Rylands.
oh yeah. Looking at the actual the rushing stats overall, we held them under 50 rushing yards. Um, Mahomes' box score didn't look too bad, 305, two touchdowns, two picks. But
Those
the
picks
two
were
picks
bad,
were
dude.
not good picks. Yeah.
Shout out
Um,
Marte Mapu. That pick was sick.
that was
Oh
pretty
my
cool.
God. He ripped it out of Kelsey's hands
Yeah.
right in front of his girl,
Wasn't
Taylor
Kelsey.
Swift.
It was Noah Gray, whose hands he ripped it out of.
Oh, it was,
Kelsey.
bro. Oh my God. From the stands,
Yeah.
we all thought it was Kelsey. Everybody was going nuts.
Yeah, it still would have been very cool. How close were you to Taylor Swift?
It's not, we were in, I mean, I got the tickets from a patron at Jimmy's.
We were on the
Um,
opposite side though. She was in one of
we
the
were on
suites,
TV
obviously.
side. We were on the TV side,
Oh, okay. Well, then she was probably
but we
below
were up
you.
in the nosebleeds. But by the like,
Reference.
as soon as the Chiefs went up, yeah, nosebleeds reference. As soon as the Chiefs went up, 27-10, a bunch of people left. So my brother and I were like, screw this, we're gonna move down. We moved down to like front row.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I was another reference right near where I was when I was working the pylon at the freelance gig at the pylon reference. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, so once we moved down there and the Patriots scored to climb within 10, we were still on TV side, but in
sure.
comparison to where Taylor was, I don't know. I saw her cars as we were leaving.
Oh,
They were
crazy.
in like a side thing with a wood door attached to the building. So I'm like, oh, there are her cars. So yeah,
Wow.
but regardless, when it was funny when they put her up on the jumbotron, they put a quote that she said probably at one of her many concerts at Gillette. That was like Gillette Stadium is my favorite place in the world, and she was
Mm,
like covering her face after that.
cap.
So
Huge cap.
boo
No
Taylor
way.
Swift.
Boo. No, we love Taylor Swift. We love Taylor Swift. And she got a win. She was also very
She did.
mad during the game. I don't know if you saw the clip of her yelling at a no call. When who
They're
was
one
it?
to talk. Refs
I
were
oh I
handing the
know.
Chiefs
Oh, I know.
nonstop in this one. They were like, "We're sorry for messing you up the previous week.
Yeah, that was
Let's
a
throw you some bones against the 3-10 New England Patriots."
yeah.
My God.
Gosh.
But yeah, it was an entertaining game to say the least. Defense
Yeah.
played another great game.
Oh yeah.
Our offense, though, like you said, Chandler, after that first quarter, very similar to last week. Bailey Zappi and crew just stuttered out. Zappi said similar words post game, basically reflecting on the experience from last week, saying, similar to last week, we had that stint at the beginning. We played really well, but from there, it was just, a collapse sort of thing. So, on the offensive side of things, outside of that first quarter, it was not pretty. Zeke, who I had on my fantasy team, of course, 11 carries, only 25 yards, average of 2.3 yards per carry. Kevin Harris cashed in that
Yep.
touchdown to bring us in within 10. He appeared out of nowhere. Honestly, I thought he got claimed off our practice squad. I was surprised to see him in this game, but
Yeah.
nonetheless happy to see him in this game. He went 4 for 25, had the touchdown, obviously, but not too much involvement. In terms of receiving, Hunter Henry popped off, had the
Yeah.
touchdown catch in the first quarter. He had
Legacy
another
game.
one,
Yep.
literally. He had another one that was called back because of the flag. But even without that touchdown on the board, he's had 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games. Really, the only sort of impactful player on our offense.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just like the beginning of the season. He was
literally,
awesome in the beginning of the season, and he was originally, if you really harken back, he was our big money signing that one free agency year. He was the prize get, and he's a very talented receiving tight end, and he can also block really well. Um, but he's just been overshadowed by such a poor team. So I'm glad that he can get some shine right now. Hopefully, he won't be a Patriot next year because, frankly, he doesn't deserve this.
literally, but also he was getting banged up pretty bad during the game, Chandler. We saw
Yeah,
him, at least from my perspective, he went down slow to get up multiple times throughout the game. I believe he ended up leaving the game at a couple points. I think at one point it was a rib injury. Um, I forget the second circumstance, but I know after the game he was questionable on fantasy.
sure.
So uh taking hits to make plays for us 3-11 New England Patriots. Shout
Oh
out Hunter
yeah,
Henry. And
got
he,
that dog
like
in
you
him.
said, Chandler, out of that 2021 class, he was really like one of the only hits out of all those players that we
Hmm.
signed. Uh Kendrick Bourne obviously played pretty well. Um, you have to really X out last year. Not that it was his fault, but just for the fact that he wasn't really involved in the offense whatsoever. But consistently over the 3 years, you have to say that Hunter Henry has been the most impactful, probably out of that entire class that we signed.
Hmm. Yeah,
But heading into sort of a discussion after the game, Chandler, from the perspective of the Chiefs, you were kind of touching on it earlier. They looked fraudulent in this game. Sure, they
yeah.
get the win. They avoid their third straight loss. But Mahomes at times just did not look great. And sure, you're matched up against a team like the Patriots, where on paper their record is horrible, but they're holding a pretty great defense on this team. So, and at some points, actually, I'll touch on this now. A lot of fans and even players after the game, we found out, thought that they had a chance to win this one and felt that there was a little bit of a regression off the gas from the coaching staff to sort of let up a little bit when if they pushed forward, some players felt like they would have had a chance to beat the Chiefs here.
I don't disagree with that, especially with Andy Reid having a quote after the game, saying when you're as close as the AFC is right now, wins are hard to get and they're important. This Patriots team is so close. They're doing a nice job with their defense. They're salty. I don't exactly know what he means by salty, but I think that the overall message there is pretty clear that in the NFL, it really is any given Sunday. Anybody can win any week, especially when you have a really good defense. And frankly, they are a good Chiefs offense. I know we'll call them fraudulent before, and we'll keep calling them through the rest of this episode. But this is the time that I do chill out and say that they do still have an extremely talented offense. And shout out to the Patriots defense for holding them. Um, Earlier in the season, I remember, I think it was probably after the second game, because I know it was definitely before the fourth game, because I was talking about how this Patriots team isn't going to get blown out this year, that every game is going to be close, but we're still not going to win a lot of games. I was right on half of that. We've been blown out a couple times. But I think today, or not today, yesterday, was one of those times where you realize that this Patriots team is going to be able to stay in games against teams far better than us. And this is one of those instances where we can keep it close. Um, we almost did enough offensively to win this game. And that's something to kind of I don't want to say be proud of because the standard has to be higher than that, but relative to how we've done, that was not a bad game, and I think that there definitely was a chance to win had we been a little bit more. Um, we need to win this game because obviously we don't need to win this game. We don't need to win any games. We stink. But if the coaching staff had really decided that this game needs to be one that's won, they could have done more in terms of uh, play calling towards the back half of that game, I think.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple circumstances, Chandler, where, uh, fans, players, everyone in question was sort of wondering why the Patriots weren't taking a shot on fourth down. I believe
Yeah.
they had a 4th and 3, a 4th and 7, a couple different opportunities where, they could have gone for it before we obviously saw the fourth down attempt deep in their own end inside the 10-yard line, which literally
Yeah.
happened right in front of me. But regardless, there was a couple circumstances before that moment where people were like, all right, go for it. What do you have to lose? And honestly, that has to be the mentality from a team in this position, of course. But like you said, Chandler, I would take away from this game nothing but it wasn't a disappointment by any
Yeah.
circumstance because honestly, I'm happy with the way we played and secretly down deep, these type of games where, you fight hard, you play pretty well, and you still lose, that's honestly one of the best case scenarios right now for
Sure.
New England fans because you're not putting an embarrassing product on the field, yet at the same time, you're still climbing closer and closer to a potential number one overall pick. And even if you don't get number one, you're still kind of locking yourselves in for a number three or top three, I should say.
Yeah.
And to build off of that, Carolina Panthers, as you said at the top of the episode, Chandler, narrowly beat the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 9-7.
God, both of those teams stink so much. Oh
And
my
the
gosh, that
fact
whole
that
division.
the fact that the Falcons still have a chance at making the playoffs, at least before this week, they had a pretty realistic chance.
They still do, I think.
That's just shocking to me. How could you lose to such a bad team in such a bad fashion, too? Like,
Yeah.
it was just really embarrassing from their perspective. I'm looking up the box score now as we speak.
Yeah,
And
Bijan's
for the
cooked. He's not
for the
actually cooked, but he has not looked good at all this year.
for the
Um,
for the Panthers, they have Packers on Christmas Eve.
that's a
They
loss.
have
That's gotta be a loss.
Jaguars on New
Also
Year's Eve,
gotta be a loss.
and then Bucks last game of the
That's the
season.
one. Baker
That might be
Mayfield,
it.
your job right now is to beat them or to lose to them, and then
Come to the
we'll get,
Patriots next
then
year.
we'll take you in free agency. That
And we'll
is
give you a raise for just for losing.
exactly. We'll really Brian Flores this allegedly. Um, we will please. I really want the first pick. Maybe you can mentor Caleb. You can start for the full year, mentor Caleb, mentor Drake May, and then just leave. We'll give you a year of probably not good film because we stink, and then you'll get money though. So please,
When you look at it,
please.
Chandler, honestly, the Jaguars, as much as they've been successful this year, um, I almost said Burrow. Trevor Lawrence
Yep,
has been beat up
it's
this
true.
year.
He's in concussion protocol right now.
So God forbid he doesn't play in that fateful game in 2 weeks. I mean,
I think he
he
will.
probably will be sized up by then. Now that I'm looking at it,
Yeah, 2 weeks. Especially
even the
because the injury
Packers,
happened on a Thursday.
you never know with the Packers, Chandler. What happened to them?
Oh,
Lost to
it's.
the
I mean, again,
Giants, lost to the Bucks, right after beating the Chiefs. Like, come on,
it's true. Yeah,
Jordan
you
Love,
never
who
really know because this Panthers defense is really good. Their defensive coordinator, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, who is a borderline or was going into this year a head coaching candidate. He was the Broncos DC the year before. Um, he's good, and that was a good performance for him against Falcons, who, while they have so many weapons, such a bad quarterback. Desmond Ritter's so not good. And frankly, not very inventive play calling, even though Arthur Smith was considered a more inventive play caller when he was hired there.
And he still has the lock for next year, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, as he should, because he needs to show that he can't do it with a quarterback, because he's had Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ritter. Both, I don't like Desmond Ritter. Marcus Mariota, I'm cool with. I think he's an underrated quarterback. But I think that he should get the chance to get one of these quarterbacks in the draft, especially if they stink. He can be looking at that like Michael Penix kind of level. That's where he can be trying to get somebody who can utilize these weapons. But he just hasn't been able to unlock it. And we'll see if he get I think he will get one more year. I think he should get one more year. But after that, it might be gonzo for him.
Yeah, and regardless, the Panthers may be sizing themselves up to lose that first overall pick.
Yeah,
And at
do it.
least from the Patriots' perspective,
2021 Jets, do it.
and
Lose those.
you won't even have to worry about that circumstance of, oh God, we're at number one. We want to like lose secretly to keep this pick because the pick is not theirs. It's the Bears.
Exactly, yeah.
So everybody in that locker room right now is like, screw this. Who cares if we finish 4-11, like whatever it is, 4 wins, 5 wins, 3 wins, however many we have,
Yeah.
even though we're out of playoff contention, that number one pick is not ours. So
Yeah,
let's
every
just try
single
to
one of
win
them
as much as possible.
every single one of them, their only goal is to put out good tape for next season because they're going to have a new coach, and that coach is going to watch every play that they had, and he's going to say, wow, you stink. I don't want you on the team. Get out. Or he's going to say, huh, at the end of the season, you kept fighting. You were pretty good. Here's a contract. You can stay. That's what they're all fighting for. They're fighting for a job. Everyone in the NFL is always fighting for a job, but this Panthers team specifically needs to put out good film. They're going to play their hardest in every single game, as every team does, but I think they might even have a little bit more incentive to do so, and we'll see how that actually materializes. They might need a team absolutely collapsing to get there, and that could frankly be any three of those teams. Could just have a year-end collapse. I don't think two of them will, but
No,
we'll
you
see
never
about the
know.
Packers. We'll see about the Packers.
But regardless, Chandler, speaking of fighting for their job, Bill Belichick may be
Yep.
in a certain circumstance. I mean, I guess based off the past couple weeks, you never really know what the true report is. But heading into this week, there's a lot of different questions surrounding reports right now regarding Bill Belichick's job. So let me bring you back to last week, everybody. Tom Curran obviously dropped the report. He said, quote, when they came out of Germany, they being the Patriots, conversation I had that week made it very clear that a decision was made. They were going to play out the string, and at the end of the year, there would be a parting of ways for a variety of reasons. That last week, we talked about it a bunch, Chandler. It
Hmm.
seemed like that was going to be it for Bill Belichick, and he was kind of a lame duck, as you would
Yep.
say, heading into this end of the season. This past week, right before the game against the Chiefs, Ian Rappaport drops a report saying quite the opposite. He says, either way, I guess referring to the end of the season for the Patriots, their last couple of games,
Yep.
he says, quote, expect a period of evaluation when the regular season ends, with no immediate conclusion on Belichick coming. Tom Curran took this report from Rappaport and kind of spinned it and said, this is what I was saying all along. It builds on this, yada, yada. So
Hmm.
now everybody's really confused in terms of what the hell is going on with Bill Belichick. Last week, when that report dropped from Tom Curran himself, I was a little bit wary of it, Chandler. I wasn't sure if that was truly the case. Something like that taking place, especially after week after week of players being like, we're all for Belichick, whatever. I didn't believe that Kraft just had it locked in his head that, Belichick's gone. I don't care. Like my cards are folded. He's out. Because when you progress through the remainder of the season and you have reactions like that from media, from players, from fans, it's hard to just lock that position or lock a position on such an important decision for the franchise. So I was a little bit questioning of it. Rappaport's reports sort of add to that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, simply this is the biggest decision that the Patriots will probably ever make in their franchise history. The greatest coach of all time, how that person leaves. Because frankly, it's some of it is in our control and some of it's in his control. If he says, I want to go somewhere else, I don't think that we will stop him. If Kraft is bent on keeping him, I don't think that he will leave. However, I've been pretty clear that I think that he should not be the Patriots coach next year because I don't want him to be the Patriots GM next year. That is the real reason, and I think that's going to be inevitably what wins out. However, I did think it was a little bit crazy to decide in at week 9 or whatever it was that he's gone. Uh, Especially because if you're going to make that decision, I would have thought that you're either confirming you're working on a trade like now to have that done at some point in the offseason before free agency so that you can get some asset, or you just do it then to see what you have in Gerard Mayo, which is something that we all talked about. We all thought was a fringe possibility, but probably wouldn't happen. I do still think he's gone. I think that the team is obviously going to do their due diligence on it. At the end of the day, they're going to hopefully come to the conclusion that Belichick, the coach, is not at fault. Belichick, the GM, is at fault for this season. And that is going to be the reason that he is possibly the Chargers coach next year. I would actually really like to see that.
And that possibility becomes a little bit more and more real week after week, Chandler, especially following Brandon Staley getting the boot last week.
And Tom Telesco, their GM.
Yep.
So both roles are open,
That
which is
obviously makes things a little bit more intriguing in terms of this race. But recent reports from Rappaport, at least from my perspective, are kind of turning the gears back more towards the Patriots deciding to keep Bill Belichick. Now, I think Kraft's eyes have opened to this whole scenario surrounding Belichick's decisions over the past 6, 7 somewhat years, even dating back to when Brady was here. So I definitely think that there's going to be a hard conversation at the end of this season, but I
yeah,
think it is going to ultimately end in Belichick staying in New England. Whether
interesting.
that means some more, I guess, general manager like positions or decisions falling in the hands of the Crafts, I think that might be more possible because the fact of the matter is this season was a disaster. A
Yeah.
lot of us, including myself, not you, but I thought that the Patriots were going to be a very competitive team this year.
Nope.
And I am even horribly quoted of saying such in week 2 that they may make the AFC championship.
Hey,
That,
I even overshot this team, it looks like. That's crazy. They would have to win 2 of the next 3 games to get the record that I thought they were going to get, and everyone thought that I was the crazy one. No, I'm validated.
wow. Well, regardless, it seems that I guess the Crafts' eyes have been open to this and
Yeah.
they won't basically let Belichick off the leash of like, oh, he is the GOAT, so you keep doing your thing. But
Uh-huh.
at the same time, you also have to weigh the, okay, he's the GOAT. We got to kind of let him do his thing. So I was even thinking, honestly, Chandler, at the game while I was waiting in line for concessions, I was like, I would much rather have Belichick one more year next year because obviously his contract only goes for one more year. Get him for one more year next year. And honestly, I'd rather him suck and we suck than see Belichick go to the Chargers and win them a Super Bowl. Because to me, that would just sting just like Tom Brady did. And I don't think I can handle that as a Patriots fan. From an analytical perspective, if it's going to be a shit show next year, part of my French, you got to let Belichick go
Yeah.
even if it means that you're turning the head to the Chargers to kind of take the throat of the AFC West out of Mahomes' hands and win a Super Bowl. So as tough as it is for a lot of Patriots fans out there right now to come to this conclusion that Belichick might have to be gone, if it's what's best for the team, you got to make it happen. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Belichick can turn things around and give Kraft some more power on behalf of the general manager's position.
Many people in this fan base, I'm speaking to the camera right here. Many people in this fan base are being conditioned to now think that this is okay. that this Patriots team is okay. I know I briefly touched upon the standard earlier. This is not okay. There needs to be wholesale changes on this team. And if that starts all the way at the top, I love Bill Belichick. He is a picture of Bill Belichick as Emperor Palpatine outside of the Roman Colosseum is my wallpaper. I love Bill Belichick so much. I may send a picture of it to Nick so that we can post it on social media. Um, I love Bill Belichick so much. This is an unacceptable team. And while, again, we all understand that Belichick, the coach, is not entirely at fault for this, he's kind of at fault for the arrogance of having people historically who are not offensive play callers as our offensive play callers. I think that did a lot of irreparable damage last year. Yep. But people are being conditioned to think, oh, Goat is okay. He can do what he wants. No, that's not how this works, and nor is it how it should work. If he wins somewhere else, hooray, that validates what we're saying about the fact that he can't build a team, but he can still coach. If he can go to a team that is already built really well because Tom Telesco is a great general manager, I'll be the one to say it, I guess. He has survived three coaches in the past there, so that's why they had to get rid of him, I think. But he's built an incredible team there. And if Belichick can waltz in and win a Super Bowl, honestly, I'd be extremely happy for him. Um, I don't know what's happening on my end. The screen is black, but I'm doing it live.
You're
They don't want
good.
to hear
You're
me
still
talk.
there. You're still
They
there.
don't. They don't want to hear what I have to say. Um,
The
Belichick
voice
is
of the voiceless.
the voice of the voice of look in my eyes. Yeah. Um, they don't want to get rid of him. Obviously, they wouldn't want to get rid of him. He's the greatest coach of all time. He's the greatest general manager of all time. But the standard has to be the standard, and the standard has slipped so low that changes have to happen, and that has to be Belichick. Will it be Belichick? I don't know at this point. I was pretty confident 3 weeks ago that it would be. I was pretty confident before any of these reports came out that it would be. But now I'm starting to think that they're going to get cold feet and think that below mediocrity is okay. And also, let's talk about how he can't develop quarterbacks. When has Belichick ever developed a quarterback? Belichick didn't develop Brady. I'll be the one to say that.
Brady was Brady, yeah.
Brady was Brady. And he helped, but a lot of that was other people. That could have been a Romeo Crennel. That could have been a Bill O'Brien. That could have been so many other people who have developed
Dante
quarterbacks.
Scarnecchia.
Yeah, probably. He's great. He's the most underrated positions coach of all time. Uh,
Facts.
Big reason that we stink is the offensive line, and big reason the offensive line stinks is because he's not here anymore. Um,
Want want.
but yeah, womp womp indeed. The standard is the standard. Belichick is not the best person to take this team into the future as a GM or probably as a coach because we're going to need so much development on the offensive side of the ball, and he should not be the coach. And everyone is starting to get to the point of being like okay with what's happening, and I'm noticing it, and I'm not okay with it. Don't fit the narrative. He still needs to go. I love you.
Yeah, you said it very well, Chandler. And I think you speak to a lot of Patriots fans. I think we both do in the sense that
Yeah.
part of us are still holding on to that Belichick grasp. But at the end of the day, if this is not what's best for the team, you got to cut your losses and just let them go. I'm still holding out hope, obviously, that we can work something out and, God forbid, talk some sense into that general manager mind of Bill Belichick and be like, look, this last season was terrible because of the decisions that you made in the offseason. So let us do some of that so you can coach your good players into, I guess, a more successful role that we've seen in years past. Because the fact of the matter is, this defense is not far from being, I guess, a playoff team's
Yeah.
defense. You just need to revitalize this offense, and you got a ton of money. You have a top 3 draft pick. You have a ton of stuff that you can use to, I guess, rework this very fast. You just need to do it correctly, or else you're screwed. So, with that, Chandler, looking ahead to the draft, what better way to preview next episode's rookie preview? Who are you looking at?
So I've talked a lot about this person through the course of the season. I talked about him in my Michael Penix scouting review. I talked about him in my Malik Neighbors scouting review last week. I'm going to be covering Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. He is currently probably the third wide receiver off the board, but could be the second. He and Malik Neighbors, who I covered last week, is going to be really fighting for that position. So we're gonna see, and I'm going to hopefully be able to give you a definitive verdict on what absolutely should happen because I'm always right. I've never been wrong.
Shout out Chandler.
Shout
And
out me. I'm wrong some of the time, for
with
record.
that, we will throw ahead to this Thursday's episode. Make sure to check it out. A full preview of Patriots versus Broncos in Mile High on
Christmas
Christmas
Eve,
Eve,
maybe the
8:15.
worst possible way to spend
I
my
mean,
Christmas Eve, but I will be doing it.
oh man, would rather just be, watching It's a Wonderful Life, but nope.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to be watching the Patriots. Shout out New England. Here we
Yeah.
go. Probably going to lose.
Yeah.
Regardless, we'll be there previewing it on Thursday. Make sure to check out that episode. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. Rate us 5 stars. Follow us on Instagram at @the.pylon. We're going to be getting more active on there again. Hopefully, if I don't pass out again during Christmas break. But regardless, we will keep things going and expect more from At the Pylon in the coming weeks. So until next episode, alongside Chandler Betts, my name is Nick Antonakis. We will see you back here on Thursday for a Patriots versus Broncos Christmas Eve preview.
Let's ride.